back to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Today, Kellie Burke is with us. After working as a studio artist and faux painter, Kellie established her West Hartford, Connecticut-based interior design firm, Kellie Burke Interiors, in 1995. She then expanded to include a design studio filled with trendy, high-style home products and accessories. One of her philosophies when designing a home is it should feel like a well-traveled home and not have that matching store-bought look. Kellie Burke Interiors specializes in creating livable, luxurious interiors for high-end clients around the globe. Kellie's been in the business for more than 25 years, and if you're a longtime listener, then you know how much I love these conversations with seasoned professionals. They just hit me in a different way, and I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy this conversation as much as I did. Let's welcome Kellie to the show. Hey, Kellie, thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hi, LuAnn. This is so exciting. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I am looking forward to this conversation. Everybody knows I love every conversation. Obviously, I couldn't be doing it between the two podcasts almost 900 times if I wasn't having a really good time. But I think by now, longtime listeners know that I have this special sweet spot for interviews with seasoned, accomplished business owners. So you are 25 years in business at this point. You run a multiple seven-figure firm, and you have tons of experience that we're going to delve into. And so I'm super excited for this conversation, Kellie, and I'm thanking you for taking your time to be here.
Well, I think I'm more excited. So let's get started.
Okay. So one of the things that I think is super interesting is that you had an experience. Well, first of all, I would like to just share the little bit of the story that you said, the tidbit that you said that your dad said to you when you were starting out as interior design and you were a couple of years into it, and tell us that little advice he gave you.
So when I first started out, I was really excited just to start, I'm going to call it decorating. I didn't have a lot of design know-how. I just kind of taught myself, and I was working out of my attic in my home. I was just newly married and trying to grasp clients and trying to figure out how to get myself out there. And I didn't know how to market. This was before Instagram or any social media. And so, of course, the person that I always go to for all of my work ethic and sort of learning about the business is my father. He's a contractor and a builder, so I'm sort of in the industry of building and understanding homes from the start. But I would say, Dad, listen, I don't know. I had a great client. I did some mural work. I was, doing some design, but now the funds are low. I need to figure out, I always go to my dad, funds are low. What do I do? So he would say, Kellie, I think it's time you need a place to hang your hat. I think working outside of your home or inside your home, maybe people aren't taking you so seriously. And now that you really want to launch your career here, I think you need a place that feels structured and that people can come in and feel like you're the real deal.
So here's the thing that I want to say about that. And I'm curious if your hindsight observation is similar. So on one hand, I ascribe to and I agree with the aspect that he described, which is just that seriousness internally. It's like, I'm a business. I have bills to pay. I've got to make the thing happen. And I leave a home and I go to a place of business. Like for me, I have the same thing. I have the podcast, but I actually rent a retail space from WindowWorks, an actual store that WindowWorks can rent to somebody else, because I feel like, okay, this is where the business is run. Like I can podcast from anywhere, but this is where LuAnn Nigara Inc. functions. So that's one thing. The other thing I heard in there was that your dad, going back almost 20 years ago at this point, was saying other people might take you more seriously. And what's interesting is, I wonder if you hear it when you say it. What I heard was, back 25, 20 years ago, I can see that very real, because there was no internet. There was no Facebook and social media, where there was websites where you literally could present yourself as a solid business in other ways. Like that was one of the only ways that outside person could say, oh, real grown up business there. Right.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think
So it's
it's
not
really
as true
important.
now, right? Is the point.
No,
It's right.
I think too, I mean, it's very relatable now because obviously we all got trapped working from home for a bit and we didn't have a choice. And I sort of had to go backwards. And the hanging of your hat is something that's really important, just to wake up in the morning, get yourself ready, and change your experience, because home is task oriented. You have
Mm.
your regular to-dos. There's no way you're not going to empty the dishwasher. There's no way you're not going to press start on your laundry. There's, the doorbell's ringing, and things that you don't know that are happening at your home when you're not home are really distractions. So having that hang your hat mentality was great, but also to prove to the world you could afford a space, and that this is not Debbie Decorator. This is somebody that is very committed and wants to put money back into building herself and her business, and she wants to be secure for you. So it was really very much, I didn't know about branding or marketing, but my dad was giving my first branding message, without him even knowing it. And I think it was very important for me to have that. And I still feel like it's very important to get in your car, get dressed, and go to a place of business and function from there.
And it's funny because we both know, as life changes, generations change, it may or may not be true for someone else, but it's interesting that we both experienced that. Like I said, I was doing the podcast when I separated the podcast, LuAnn Nigara, and created the entity, LuAnn Nigara Inc., and separated from WindowWorks. I lasted 10 days. 10 days. I had been podcasting for 2 full years, doing the podcasting from home, but doing, running back and forth to my responsibilities at WindowWorks. And then I think the days were just so busy podcasting that there was no thought to it. And also, don't forget, Vin was running the business side of the podcast because everything was going through WindowWorks. And all of a sudden, I was 10 days, my own entity. Here come, the notices from the bank, and here come the letters from the lawyer, and here come, all the things. And I was like, wait, do I put that on the dining room table? Do I put that in my office upstairs? So I was like, that's it. I need a place to do business.
The packages are arriving. Where am I going to put this now?
I'm like, nope. And I remember I called Vinny, and he had just told a woman that she could rent the space. And it was the week before, and she was supposed to have come in that Monday. And this was like a Wednesday. And I called him up. I'm like, did that woman come in with the rent? And he's like, what? I'm like, the lady who was going to have a flower shop. Did she come in? He's like, no. And I'm like, well, it's Wednesday. How long are you giving her? He's like, what's going on? I'm like, I want to rent the place. He's like, okay, fine.
It's mine. Give it back.
And she never did come in, so I didn't even have to feel guilty. But it was a headset for me. And so I just think it's funny that, I mean, I'm older than you, but we're closer in age than we are to some of the kids that I interview, and that are like listening, going, well, I could work out of my house for 100 years. Yes, you could. You've been trained that way. But there's other things at stake, right?
There
and so
is.
I think that's so interesting.
And
now,
it's a responsibility too. You have to pay rent, so it makes you get up and go find that client. I have overhead now. I mean, God, I didn't know what overhead meant until I was in overhead, and that was like a very big learning curve.
Yes. Well, and that's an interesting point because, I work with a lot of designers that, we talk about the cost to be open number, right? So for monthly for your business, it's probably 6 figures like it is for WindowWorks. But there are designers that work and they run very, profitable businesses, multiple hundreds of thousands of gross revenue a year. And the cost to be open number for the year is 25, 30,000, right? I mean, I've coached them, and it's amazing when you can gross 250, 300, 400, and your cost to be open is 25, 30. But getting to that 250, 300, 400,000 gross revenue with a very low cost to be open number, there isn't the same pressure of the rent is due, the utilities are due, and I can't put the laundry in and take the dog for a walk today. I must dial for dollars. I must call back that client that I gave a proposal to last 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and I haven't heard
Yep.
from them, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, it makes it a little different onus. Okay. So now here's the thing. Going out on your into a physical space can mean a lot of things. It could mean like I have. I have a retail storefront that we keep all the windows closed, the drape, the shades closed in the beginning, in the front of the store. Nobody knows here. When Diana and I are here, and we work and we do our thing, and that's that. But then with an interior designer, I have many interior designers that also think, oh, I'm going to go out and I'm going to have a physical space to do work, and I'm going to have a little pretty shop. And I'm just like, okay, so now we just made ourselves nuts. Okay.
Here comes Kellie with her flashy shop in the middle of West Hartford Center, open for business.
So that's the thing. So we can have a physical space to do business out of, and then we can also build a retail shop. And you have learned through grit and tears
Yes.
and all the things, the very different the business model of the two. So walk us through having that retail shop. I get questions every single month. I promise you, I get an email that says, I've always wanted to open a retail shop and have beautiful things around. Do you think I should do that? Will it bring me luxury clients? And I'm always like, yeah, you could open up a bakery and sell $3,000 cakes and meet the same luxury client.
And I'd be like, wow, my cakes would be beautiful. I could just imagine, why don't I sell cakes and jewelry and like all this other stuff too? All the things that I love should be in this, and I should be selling it.
And have all this inventory. So now here's the thing. So you did this, and you did what everybody thinks they should do.
Yes.
You went to a busy area in Hartford that had all the right restaurants and all the right clothing stores.
You got it.
So talk to us about it, Kellie.
Well, so here's the thing. The pressure's there. So now not only are you becoming visible, and just note, I didn't go to design school. I'm very self-taught. Obviously, I grew up in a builder's home. So my parents were serial flippers. I think I had 27 houses that we were in and renovated and constructed and moved. And so I'm coming into this business, all eyes very wide and excited, but not really understanding the nature of design and all the elements that are going into it, and I wanted to open the store and hang my hat pretty quickly, but I'm go big or go home. So I, of course, get the most visible location in the busiest section of town. And I'm there, and I got to fake the look. I mean, I not only fake the look, I actually am walking the walk. I have to make this a spectacular first opening store. Not only am I a designer, but now I'm a shop owner, and I've never, ever taken 1 ounce of course or structure, or I have no idea how to own a shop. I don't even know how to buy a point of sale. Yeah. How much do you buy? Where are the shelves? Where are you getting the shelves? How big are the shelves? Like, I had no business doing this. It was exciting. I went on my shopping spree. I bought all of the things, as you're calling it. And I put all of those things into the store. And then those things needed to be inventoried and priced. And all of that stuff came as a learning curve after I put my sign on the front door.
Whoa.
So it was crazy, but I'm a girl for challenge. So I did it.
And so the thing about it is that we have this, I was going to say belief, but it's a truism too, that when you do go into that part of town, that place that has the cool restaurants, the cool clothing shops, the cool art galleries, that you are putting yourself right in front of your target client. There's no question. But my experience when we did that from a window work standpoint, because a lot of us have made this same mistake, by the way, when we did that as a window work standpoint, I found that we were having conversations all day with consumers who were attracted to our retail location and interested to come and browse, but weren't
Come and
necessarily.
browse. They would come with a bag full of pictures of their home. They would come in with fabric samples.
And
You
should I
would be
get
on the
those
phone and
candles,
they'd be
right?
I'd be talking to an actual meaningful client and I'm trying to design something and there'd be somebody hovering over my desk with their bag in hand for free design service.
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
wouldn't leave. I mean, they
No,
were there. They were
right.
planted. Oh, I was just wondering, and I was just thinking, and then I would say, well, listen, this is how we work. This is how oh, no, 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 no. I don't want to sign up with you. I'm just here to kind of show you and think, do you think this would be a good idea? You are open to the public. I mean, it became a real
Yeah.
nuisance.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
that's what it is because, from their standpoint, it is a mixed signal,
it
right?
is very mixed.
The open sign is there. It doesn't say, don't come in. I'm only here for looks.
Well, it did after a while. I said, by appointment only. I guess that's sort of don't come in.
Right. But that's it. You had to get to that point. And so
Yes.
I think that is the thing that someone listening has to consider if
Right.
you're going to open up a retail shop in a beautiful, the right part of town, quote unquote, as far as industry and so forth, then you have to remember that that is a trafficked site. And what are you going to spend your days now on?
Right.
Looking at pictures and recommending the lamp that goes in the room that you're never going to set foot in, or are you designing? And you were still designing. So tell
I
us, when did
was.
you actually do the
Yeah, so
design,
here's
Kellie?
the thing. I was doing all my design work in the morning and the night. So,
Yeah.
and I still do that quite frequently. Like this morning, I usually wake up at 4 and start working, but
Mm,
um I would get to the store and it was distraction after distraction. I mean, I would be haggling over a scented candle that I knew by the time I put it in my gorgeous logoed bag with the tissue paper and then swiped their card with the percentage that they take off of it and then them asking for a discount. I had just spent an hour of time selling something that I was going to make maybe $3 on. And
yeah.
I thought, wow, this is a
Yeah.
problem. Like
Yeah.
if I'm not selling a sectional and making a meaningful amount of profit on it, and I'm taking away all my time from the design clients, and I'm doing that at night after 5 and before 9, I don't know that this was the right move. Of course, I
Mhm.
stayed, for 13 years, but I'm a glutton for punishment.
So, you know what? You know what? This is why I love talking with seasoned people, because I'm laughing, and I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing
Don't
with you.
laugh at me. We're laughing together. I'm
No,
laughing at
yeah, we
myself.
are, because you know what? I'm in business 40 years. There's things that I've done for 13 years too. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's like you're just like, yep, have those things too, where you're just every day you're like, this isn't good, but I'm gonna do it again. Yay.
Every day you'd walk in.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, let's just buy another batch of those candles. They're great. Well, you make no money on them. Okay, super.
So now the other thing I do want to just address here is, if you had opened up this retail location and had decided, for whatever point, at any point along the way, that you enjoyed that more than the full service design projects, you could have flipped your focus and
Correct.
made the retail location a successful, profitable business. I mean, I think we agree, it's not that that business model isn't profitable. I mean, my God, every street in America proves that it is. However, it's thinking that it's the feeder for the luxury clients and not understanding the time that it takes away from what actually is in that relationship of the design firm to the boutique
Correct.
firm, the moneymaker. Do you agree
Right.
with
I mean,
that?
it's a jack of all trades, none of them any good. I mean, we
Right.
can all do anything, but if you don't have a focus on the thing that you really are passionate about, and that's actually making money, I mean, you may decide that you don't need to make a super amount of money and you just love this retail industry and it's okay to flip a few things here and there because you love it and having
Hmm.
things and stocking shelves. And there is something really exciting about that. I mean, opening
Right.
the package comes in, you get to open it up. Oh my God, like I would love this. And there is a like, I still want to do it and we still do pop-up sort of moments, but it is an overwhelming task. And I found that the focus was very hard. So like I said, I would go home and the focus was happening midnight, 1 o'clock.
Mm.
not sleeping, getting the design projects that I really was passionate about done in the evening, and then being sucked dry of
Mm.
all creativity and emotional anguish about
Yeah.
everything in the day. So I would say, like, yes, it's either one or the other. It's really tricky to do both, or hire, if you're going to have a boutique showroom, hire somebody that just runs that completely, not
Hmm.
yourself, and you focus on your design, because it is lovely to be among these gorgeous things all day.
Mm.
I mean, I think
Yes.
that's the passion that I have. I love having unique, gorgeous items within my reach and in my perspective. It gives me, the creativity of what I need for my next project. So
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
is fun to have both, but it's not something that you can do on your own, in my opinion.
And that's the thing. I mean, we have everybody from Shay McGee, who now has the store and all the things, but it's like Shay isn't the operations manager of that store. like,
Right.
like she's not overseeing the budget, and she might be, chiming in on the buying decisions and reviewing what comes in. But to your point, it's run as its own separate entity. And also, let's understand something. I haven't talked to Shay about this, so I'm only making suppositions, so don't take it to the bank. But what I imagine how their store functions for them, instead of the misbelief of I'm going to have a retail boutique store in town that's going to feed me major full service luxury clients, I believe for Shay it's the other way. This is for all of the people who can't afford McGee and Co.
Correct.
luxury design services. Here, go buy a candle from us that you makes you feel like you have Shay McGee in your house. It's going the
Exactly.
other way,
I think
right?
it's the other way. It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's so that everybody can feel like I love Shay, I love her designs, I whatever your loves are, whatever the definitions they are, you get a piece of it.
Well, I
So, and
can tell you that I never in all 13 years, and I'm talking a lot of traffic goes through this cute little town, I never in 13 years got an actual client as a walk-in
whoa,
ever.
whoa. See, I wouldn't have thought the percentage was high, but I wouldn't have thought that it was
Never.
zero.
Zero.
Whoa.
Draperies,
Yep.
I did. I glutton for punishment, because that little boutique with the small candles wasn't, working. I got the spot next door that decided I thought I needed more space, and I opened a company called Window by Kellie Burke, which was adjoining, and I was going to be a drapery workroom window. I mean, I wasn't a workroom, but I was going to design these wonderful draperies that people would just come in like ready-mades, but not. And I thought that was going to be the answer to all, and it was even more of a distraction.
I just love that I can laugh right with you on this.
Yes.
No,
So
I
I
mean,
did it all.
yeah. And what I love is we had a 10-minute conversation before recording. And I know that you have the confidence for me to just, laugh with you on this because you're past it. You learned the lesson. This is not painful anymore. It's hindsight and you're just sharing it. But it's funny. It's like I always
Yeah.
say, and open a bakery. Why not? Like, why? Oh, you know what?
Listen,
Open
I
some
would.
cars
I
there.
love the way I'm like, ooh, a patisserie in the front would be gorgeous. I mean, honestly, I like, oh my gosh, this baguette would be great. I mean, I love the way it looks at Balthazar. Maybe we should have that to get people to come in. I don't know why I wanted people to come in so badly when I had
Then
my
when you got there, get
core
out.
of people giving me references and referrals. And, I still had to do that marketing. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was my calling card. It was definitely a place to hang my hat. I felt
Mhm.
very secure. One thing I can
Yes.
say, when I
Confidence,
first
right?
started out and I didn't have the showroom, and I
Mm.
would go to the D&D, or I would go to the High Point Furniture Market, it it definitely secured me as a true designer. So
Mm.
having it, they felt it was empowering. So
Right. Like you
I
were real. You
have
were a
this
real business.
showroom, right? I
Yeah.
was a real business. I have this showroom. I get the stocking dealer. Woo! I it really gave me confidence. So for
Mhm.
me, the money and the headache and the hassle and working after hours on my actual core business, it was a really important part of my confidence building. And also not going to design school, sort of saying that I'm a risk taker. I'm going to do this and I know what I'm
Mhm.
doing. Look at my
Mhm.
showroom, so it
Well,
was important.
what I love about what you just said, Kelly, is, it's without saying it, I think you expressed my same exact philosophy on failure. I have been asked dozens of times, what, have I ever failed? And I just like, I am a human person, everybody. Like, yeah, I have the
Mhm.
same blood running through my veins. And yes, I do fail. The difference is that the failure comes the lessons. And the thing is, for someone else, they might have come in and it wasn't a failure. They might have like pivoted in and said, man, what am I doing full service interior design projects for? I love owning a boutique shop and I love figuring out the ins and outs of the profit margin and the inventory control and how do I make this profitable. So it's not that having a retail shop is a losing proposition. It's that it was for you, but you found the gift in it for you
Yes.
to grow and experience entrepreneurship and bring you to the next level. So
Yep.
there's no commentary on owning the darn shop. It's what we're commenting on here is your personal experience, that quote unquote on paper. Somebody might add it up and say, well, that didn't make money. That's a failure. But you, I think, share my philosophy is no, 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 no. If I take good, strong learning lessons from that, that was just paying for experience, right?
Oh my gosh, failure is so important to me, just so you know. I think like if you're not failing, you're not risking. And I think risk is
Right.
the only way to grow. I had an art teacher because I'm really a studio art major. Like I'm an artist by trade. And my art teacher, she picked me up in the beginning and I was always so worried and not confident about what I was actually putting on paper. And I didn't want to show the rest of the class. And I'd be worried, I just embarrassed you. It's you self insecurities. So
Right.
I'd draw something and she would be like, what's wrong with it? I go, I don't know. I just don't want to show people. She goes, well, here's the thing. It might not be perfect. You spent how many hours? I'm like 6, 7 hours on this. Like, I don't. And she goes, well, here's what I want you to do. I want to take this piece of art. You're going to turn it upside down. You're going to erase 4 or 5 sections of it and you're going to draw over it. And I said, are you crazy? She says, listen, you failed in your mind, but the failure is going to be the most beautiful piece of art when it's done. And you would do
Mm,
just that. I would destroy my art. As soon as I felt like it just wasn't good enough, I would take it, I would destroy it, I would extrapolate the good stuff. I would, even copy paste, all plaster, anything it needed to be, turn it around and make it a masterpiece. So
wow.
failure is so important in learning how to run a business because you're not risking if you're not failing. It's really,
Right.
to me anyway.
I agree. I agree. And I love that. I love that visual of your art teacher teaching you. It's basically the art version of Edison doing the light bulb 9 gabillion times until he has it. It's like, this is what you did for the last 6 or 7 hours, but take the good and throw away the bad and just mix something else on top and see what the next iteration is, right?
Yep. Don't be scared. Rip it up.
Right.
Who cares? It's
Right.
just
Right.
art. It's just like when people say, "Oh my gosh, you're going to paint my walls black." Yeah, I'm going to paint it black. Well, what if I don't like it? I go, "It's paint. Just paint it white. Like, what's the risk? Like, try it. It's just paint. We just paint over it, and then all of a sudden, the
Yeah.
black undertone under the white is like the most magical white you've ever seen in your life. Like, we need to take a risk.
Yeah.
And if it's terrible, it's terrible. You say, "Listen,
Right.
I'm not a shop owner. I don't like to do inventory. I'm not a math person. I don't know that.
Right.
It's very left right brain.
Yeah.
And it's
Oh, it
hard to
is.
do those together.
That's the thing about owning a retail shop. That's a great point to bring out, is because I think we mistakenly see, to your point earlier, all the beautiful things and the sourcing the beautiful things and then having the beautiful things and setting up the vignettes of the beautiful things and believing that that's the business of it, and it's not. It's literally being cutthroat with what inventory do you have and what margins are you making and what vendors are you sourcing for certain things, and literally analyzing all of the math to make the pretty work,
Right.
right?
Yep. And
Yeah.
the thing that you think is going to sell is the thing that you end up having to put in your house because it never sells.
It's so crazy, isn't it?
You're like, why didn't anybody love it? Like, I love this. And it just
Mm.
didn't,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
didn't
So
translate.
interesting. Yeah. I
But
love it.
now I feel like it's an important piece to be surrounded, like as a designer, if you have the ability to have maybe not an open to the public shop, but something that you can surround yourself with those items that you do love. Because I'm never not without a scented candle. I'm never not without accessories around me, my favorite
Mm.
napkins or, things around me
To
that
make that feel good and
tactile.
feel
Yes.
designery.
Yes.
That's what I call them.
Yeah.
I feel designery,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, because it runs through your veins. It does. It runs through your veins, and to be in a beautiful environment, whether it is, the office in your attic, even that, I fully believe that if you are going to be in the office in the third floor, that you create the environment that inspires you to be creative and whatever that means to you. So I 100% agree with that. Now, you have morphed this. You
Yes.
still have a location, and it's a big one, 7,500 square feet. That is massive. But it has a little different tweak to it and a little different business model to it. Talk to us about where you're at now, 25 years in. How are you doing business?
So after realizing how much I had spent in rent, because again, if you don't own something, you're not nest egging for your future. And nest egging is really important when you own your own business. It's not like you have somebody putting in 401k money for you, something. So I decided that I would start to look around and see if I can find a shop that I could purchase and own myself to build a little bit of wealth as I'm paying myself rent. Again, it's so silly, but it's another business model. So you have to be ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought a 7,500 square foot warehouse. And of course, it was dilapidated because you needed to get a good price. I was really excited about it. It was an up and coming neighborhood, and they were turning sort of the neighborhood into a branded design district, home design district. So I was enamored. It had been built by an upholstery company that was a little Italian fellow that came in and was doing upholstery back in the 30s, I believe.
Mm.
So it was like, I like a sexy story. I like something that has a lot of meaning, and I love history. History
Mm.
comes with a lot of work. Anything historical comes with a lot of work. So I jumped into this thinking I had it all together. And again, you do your business plan, which I taught myself. Um, you go and you do all of the dot your I's and cross your T's. I went to the town to make sure that they weren't going to have me do any very expensive upgrades. I just wanted to make sure that I could go in, build a wall, and, hang my hat per se. But this time I wasn't open to the public. This was going to be a warehouse that could hold all of those things, that didn't
Mm-mm.
sell. But more importantly, I needed to not be driving back and forth from New York or Boston. I wanted to have an in-house design center with all my fabrics and have the
Mm.
vendors and such come to me so I could have that time that usually you're on the road sourcing was right at my fingertips at all times. So it really was like a time saver, in my opinion. So it was a goal to be saving for myself, building equity, and then also saving me time by having my own design center.
I mean, let me tell you what, that's resonating with me. That's interesting that we have this outlay for a very large place. And instead of just looking at the ledger and saying, rent, or mortgage, I mean, 3,000 a month or whatever it is, and gas, electric, all the things, taxes, blah, blah, blah. It's like you have that. And then you're also calculating all of the hours driving from Connecticut to Boston or New York City or training or whatever it is, those actual physical expenses of the
Right.
travel plus the time out. You're calculating that, and then also adding into the calculation the evaluation that you are investing in something that is sellable for you when you retire. I mean, you
Right.
have an actual physical investment. So it takes a lot of nerve,
Well, and it
I think,
parlays itself
right?
a little bit because now that you have a showroom and you're a design center, you also buy direct, which is really
Aha.
hard for the end
There's
user to
another.
understand this. This is like
Right.
another thing we can talk on another podcast, but
Mm-hmm.
the design clients don't understand the value they're getting from me. But I buy direct. Most designers, they go to these showrooms, the showrooms have a markup, right? And then they mark it up on top of that markup to the client. So for me, I'm buying direct, I'm getting stocking dealer, I have the showroom. So now I'm getting the full profitability. And then I can offer a discount or not to the client, depending on the model that we're using for each of our clients, because everyone's kind of a little bit different, hybrid
Mm-hmm.
models for what it works for their budgets. So it's very meaningful money wise.
Yes, well thought out.
Right. It was, and I don't even know if I was meaning to do it. I'm always about how can I make money so I can start to reinvest in myself to get to that next thing. What am I going to do
Mm-hmm.
next? I'm going to get a
Mm-hmm.
PR person. I'm going to get this person. Like I'm always constantly looking for the next best thing.
Mm. And so now what happens is we just saw the positives. The
Yep.
positives are, just to recap, saving money and time on traveling back and forth to design centers, saving, saving money on purchases because you're stocking dealer on things, and then also the investment in the future. You're actually building equity in something that you could rent at some point if you want to close your business and sell your business, or you could sell when you sell your business or close your business. Now, those are the hard tangibles. Tell me about some of the are there
The can
drawbacks?
of
Like,
worms.
yeah, like, yeah. So like, oh,
Oops.
that's all great. I'm gonna go look for a warehouse today. So like, okay, but yes,
Yep.
yes, and think about this. Where were some of those things?
Well, let's just say, we're all in the design field. If you're listening to this podcast, I'm sure you're within the design field. So it's sort of the renovation model versus a new build.
Mm,
So this is a renovation model. You go in, you think you have everything that you possibly can know. You have a great business plan. You know what you're going to buy this piece of property for. You know what you want to invest on top of it to make it a functioning piece of property. You go and you do your due diligence. You hire the lawyer, you hire the architect, you go to the town, you sit down with the town and you say, listen, you're not going to come in after I buy this and sign my name on the dotted line and tell me I have to do all these expensive upgrades, because when you're a retailer or you buy a building and you're not a tenant, you have to bring everything up to code.
mm,
And code is changing every day. You don't even know what codes are unless you look it up daily.
mm.
So I went and I did that. I sat down with the town. They said, no problem. The building is suitable for you. The parking is going to be suitable for you. Everything is fine. Um, Go ahead and buy it. We're excited for you to be part of the community. So of course I signed. It was a wonderful deal. Oh my gosh, I thought I got the steal of the century. But the moment I gave my architectural plans to submit, because now even though I own the building, you have to submit plans to have them approved by the building department to say you can be a functioning business open to the public. They then said, ha ha, but there's more. And they made me upgrade the entire building because they called me a change of use. So
Whoa.
I'm not retail. I am a business operating not as open to the public, but as an office space, which entailed me putting handicap ramps and fire. I had a fire system in there, which is really great. I have a sprinkler system, which I thought was amazing. But if you didn't update it and bring it to code, which was the tune of $25,000, then you would
Whoa.
have to rip out all the pipes. So I had to bring that up to code for $25,000. So every day there was a new code that they were making me do. I couldn't have one bathroom. I had to have a his and her bathroom. I had to have a handicap bathroom. I had to have these rails. I had to have fire escape doors. It was just the slew of have to haves almost went up to $300,000 in extras. So
Whoa.
my beautiful budget of those things, the pretty things and the chandeliers and all of that, was slowly dwindling, and I ended up having to take out a line of credit
Mm.
to complete what I needed just to open. So that's the scary part. You don't know the unknown. You can try to be as diligent about writing that business proposal and hoping that it's going to work out, but there's always these little twists and turns that come up, and you have to be ready, like that risk taker, and also financially okay to do this.
Right.
Know that just like anybody building a house, and you go in and you tell them a budget, you say plus 20% no matter what, because you're always going to
Mm.
spend more than you think.
And what I'm hearing, and I'm glad that you pointed out, it wasn't, oh, and you spent 20% more than you thought because you wanted more chandeliers. This was hardcore, stop work, don't move, don't pass go unless you make these other expenses. And the crazy part is that I could see I could swallow it easier if it was a you didn't know what you didn't know situation, where you didn't know and you didn't think to say to the building department, "Hey, what are you going to hit me with if I buy this?" But
Right.
when you go and you ask the question and they say, "Don't worry about it." And I'm not understanding, and of course, we're not going to get an explanation from the building department, but what's the difference? what usage, if it's retail, if it's office, I don't care what it is. Things like handicap and bathrooms and fire, systems, those are for all the uses. Like, I didn't
Right.
hear anything in there that, oh yeah, because you're an office, you have to have that. Like, that just seems like total asleep at the
It's
wheel of the
who would
building
know that,
department.
right? Until you actually get yourself into it, you don't know it.
But the building department should have. That's the thing. It's like they're looking
Yes.
at a building that's X amount of years old, 50, 60, 80, 100, whatever it is. Come on. The
Well,
guy
the
didn't walk
silly
the
thing is if
building
I
and
just said
know.
I was a retail store, I probably
Yeah.
wouldn't have had to do all of this, but I
That's
wasn't.
ridiculous. It's
It's so
ridiculous.
strange. It's so weird that for a retail store, you only need one bathroom. But if you're an office with two people or three people working, you need two separate bathrooms. I was like, what? Like, it doesn't even make
Yes.
sense. I didn't get
No.
it. Like, but
We
yes.
didn't add another 1,000 square feet. It's the same amount of square feet, the same amount of people, right?
Yeah.
And retail's going to have more people in and out, for crying out loud.
Right. Well, it was a
Crazy.
learning experience. And they,
Yes.
the building department, they just loved it when I would roll in with my fancy clothing, all the builders around me going for my permits. And there I was. I'm also a GC, so I'm not just a
No.
designer. I have my contractor's license. So I'm in there
Interesting.
all the time and they now get it. But when I
Yeah.
first was going in there, they were like, who's this girl rolling
Yeah,
in?
with her
I think
clackety clack high heels
she's going to
strutting in
wait.
here.
She's going to wait. She's going to wait. She's going to do that. I was like, oh, man, I was waiting all the time.
Oh my goodness. And that's the other part that you mentioned in there was making the decision to go for a line of credit in order not to delay, because
Right.
that's it's funny because Vin has a huge capacity for risk like that as well. And it's interesting because I have a high capacity for risk in a lot of areas, but he definitely has a higher capacity, and especially with things like that, with big dollar bills on the line. It's just like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And I'm like, wait, we're going to go borrow another 500. Yeah, that's how it's going to take. Oh, okay. Okay. You said it's good. Let's go do it. Right.
Well,
But it's
it's the
something that
risk
you got to think
part
about.
of it. I think it's risk. I think if I didn't have that like jump off a cliff risk take,
Hmm.
um, it could have crumbled me. Like I would
Yeah.
have just said, I give up and tried to put it back in the
Hmm.
market and sell and ran, but I didn't. I said, okay, well, what do I do next? Like, show me
Right.
what I do next. The
Right.
balls are always in the air. Like, what do you do? Do you scurry away and be scared, or can we make this work in a different manner? And again,
Hmm.
who do I go to? I go to my father and also my husband, who's an incredible business person. So I go to them and I ask them because I'm not the
Hmm.
expert for
Hmm.
sure. I'm just learning by asking questions
Hmm.
you need to ask. Like, I am so curious. I'm not afraid to ask. I ask everyone anything about their business. If I'm in a retail store, how do you do it? How do you inventory? They probably think I'm a competitor, but I'm okay to ask these questions because
Right.
they like to tell you their story. They like to help. I mean, some of them, and
Yes.
then some are not so much. But I think you have to have somebody with business experience to go to and ask questions that you don't know, and don't be afraid or embarrassed, because sometimes you feel a little silly. Like, how did I not know this? Like, what did I do wrong? Instead, just voice it and talk it through, because everyone does stuff wrong and fails all the time. Even the biggest greats in the world fail.
Right. 100%. We don't know. None of us escapes it. I mean, it's just ridiculous to think that you might. But I love that you said that, because even before you mentioned your dad, when you were like, well, am I going to do it? Am I going to pivot? Am I going to just get up and make this work? I was thinking, when you grow up and you watch your dad build and flip 27 houses, that sounds like your mom was involved as well. That's, yeah, there's no way you watched that process and there weren't times where they were looking at each other going, holy cow, like, we
Yep.
didn't know we had to put $20,000 into an HVAC system in this house, or whatever it is. I mean, I'm saying words, I have no idea what they mean.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
No, that
But
was good.
like, yeah, right.
Right.
Like, I just feel like they're like, your advantage in this was that you grew up witnessing that things go wrong in small ways and big ways, but there's always a way through if you just gather your head, gather your advice, gather your mentors, ask your questions, and then take action, as
Right.
opposed to, hey, this just knocked me on my butt. Now I guess I'm not going to have this space, and I guess I don't know what. I signed the lease, so now I own it, but I can't work out of it because I'm not willing to go and get a loan in order to complete it. So,
Or even
but
knowing to go get a loan. I mean, some people
yes,
don't even
right,
realize that
right,
that's
that you
the
can.
next step, and that
Hmm.
how do you get a loan and learning that process. It's,
Yeah.
and again, all while trying to bring money in and doing your design projects at night
Pay
and in the
your
morning.
employees, get the kids to school.
Yes.
Exactly.
Drop off and all that,
Yes.
all those things as well on
Yeah.
top of it. It's hard
Yeah.
there's not a lot of sleep in this industry for sure. It's not a 9 to 5er, no
No,
question.
no, no.
And
I
layering on a showroom and layering on all of these things, as much as it seems enamoring, it is a tremendous responsibility because A, you can't do it alone. I mean, yes, I guess you could get a one studio small space that you can go to and just be you. But on top of this, now you need people to manage the space. You're paying bills and overhead. The roof is leaking. And there's all these other aspects that you're managing a building, you're managing your staff, then you're managing your projects. So
right.
you have to be very organized. You have to have the grit to work through it and the guts to try it. It's not for the faint of heart, but it's
Right.
definitely rewarding if you can make it work.
Well, being an interior designer, just that layer that manages full service projects, that layer alone is daunting.
Right.
It right? I mean, the responsibility that you have with all the things you just mentioned, and it's all for someone else's house and property or whatever it is. And now you are adding to that the management of your own building, property, resources, and all the things in it. So it is it's just understanding it. It's and this is not for anybody who's ever emailed me and said, I really want to do this. It's not no, don't do it. It's just go in eyes wide open. That's all.
Right.
That's all it is. Because there'll be somebody that'll open today and there'll be a mad raving success in 6 weeks, 6 months, whatever it is. Um, Tell me, give us a little bit just before I let you go in this space now. So we said that it supplants you having to go from Connecticut to the D&D and so forth. So do you have the fabric lines in there? Do you have cabinetry lines in there? You said you have furniture in there because you talked about getting the stocking dealer, but what actually are the resources that you have decided made sense for you to invest in having in your space, Kellie?
So I love to dabble in everything. And because I didn't realize as being a designer, I'm also a general contractor. It took me years to realize I'm also a GC because I'd get into a home and I wasn't just decorating. Decorating is super fun, but it's mostly the accessories and the furnishings and this. So I was hiring out to other GCs, the project part of it and building walls and then finding myself that I was managing that as well. Even though the
Mm,
GC was getting their VIG and I wasn't, I was managing. So now I'm a GC and a designer. I have both licenses, but you you need some tactile items. So like we do a ton of kitchen and bath remodels and designs. So we have cabinet manufacturer, we have samples, we have a little vignette of a cabinet line that I use, Habersham. So we have that in our studio with all the finishes we have metals. So we do a ton of metal work. We do commercial design. So we have like the metal samples. We have
mm,
all of the fabric samples. We have lighting. We have lighting samples. So, I mean, anything to do. I mean, we just did a whole ceiling that has all antique beams. So we have, mock-up antique beams, with the trusses. So we'll have a sample
mm,
of that with the finishes. We have lighting samples, meaning like the LEDs, because we do lighting design and lighting plans and sort of understanding the different types of LEDs, the dimmable. So I think we have a little bit of everything.
mm.
Most importantly, we have our fabrics there, especially because I remember driving back and forth. You'd get that great trim that you thought was like the end all, and the client would say, I just don't like that. Like, I really didn't
Mhm,
want brush, I want bullion. And you have to drive all the way the heck back. So I
mhm,
have all of that. So my vendors come to me, we have the Cravat, we have Osborne and Little, we have Tebow, we have wall
mm,
coverings.
mhm,
That's what's great about having a giant space.
mhm.
We also bring in the inventory of some smaller items instead of bringing it to our receiving company for client projects. If there's some smaller pieces, we'll have them, and we have, a whole
Oh,
place where we do some storage, which
I
I
see.
try to stay away from only because That's
That's a whole
another
nother model.
it's another
Receiving
model.
it, checking it. Yes.
Yes, receiving, checking, you have to have the dock, which I
Repackaging so it
have.
doesn't get damaged.
Yeah, and then the insurance. So like you
Yeah.
have an insurance for the overall umbrella of your building, but then now you have expensive items within. So you have
Content
another
insurance.
insurance level
Yeah.
to take care of it. So I
Mhm.
guess there's a model on top of a model that you
Mm.
learn as you go.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know, I would tell your person looking into doing this, should I do a shop or not? They need to have great organization, grit, and guts. Oh,
Yeah.
that's like
Yeah.
a maybe that should be my hey, I got a podcast now.
Oh my God, you're
I could
right.
talk all day. This is fun. You're like my therapist. Wait, why did I do
No,
this?
this
I
is
didn't even
awesome.
realize I did these things until you brought it to light.
No, it's true. It is. I love how you're uncovering the layers of all the different things that you think about. And look, you know, there is something to being 25 years in business. A lot of it is sort of intuitive for you now, and it does come and it's born out of the trial and the error and the learning lessons. But you know, I again, I am would never ever discourage anybody, but it's do your research. And what I say to mostly to people that ask me is go talk to some people who do it. Go
Right.
talk to some people who do it because you'll find that it either inspires you and lights you up, or you're just eyes start to glaze over and say, "Oh no, thank you. I'll just have a studio space. Thank you." Right?
It's a lot of
So,
work. Yeah. Know that
yes.
it's an additional business on top of your already booming business. And design is ever moving. So it's a
Mhm.
lot of work in general. So you just have to be okay doing both and then be able to afford to hire somebody to help you. It's really
Mhm.
important to have that also in all of these models, whether it's just your design business, even if you can only afford one person, get somebody that's a bookkeeper.
Right.
You know what I mean?
First
You
hire.
have to have that
Right.
bookkeeper or an
Mhm.
accountant, something like that. But you do need people to help you manage that are better. There's always somebody that's better at something that you're doing. So don't think you
Mhm.
can do it all yourself. Ask the questions, find the right people, make sure you can afford them, then go on your journey and know that you're going to have a lot of failures all the way through and be ready for them. And
Mhm.
don't
Mhm.
run.
Just
I
get
mean,
up.
I think,
Just get
yeah,
up.
just
Yeah.
get up and
Don't
go get it.
run. Yep.
Yep.
Yep, I love it. I love it. So good, Kelly. So good. I mean, such a fun conversation. And you're right. We probably could talk about three other topics that we could pull apart: your pricing models, different, you know, the way you manage and hire the people that work with and for you, the way you vet your vendors. There's lots of things in there that my brain is clicking on. So we probably haven't seen the last of you, is all I'm
Oh,
saying.
I want to come back. Wait, now that you said that, there's a lot of things I can air out there. This would be fun. The employees. Oh, that was a
Yeah.
fun one. Yes,
Oh
that's a
my
good one.
gosh,
That's one
right?
right
They're
there
the
for you.
lessons that looking back on all the 25 years, I love these kinds of conversations. You know, it's fun because, like I said, the pain is distant, so we can actually laugh at it.
Yes, I'm
So
happy to laugh at it even during. So if
that's
ever
it.
you
That's
have anything you need some expert advice on, I think I've tried it all.
it. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for spending your time with us today. Of course, we're going to put a link in the show notes in our Instagram and LuAnn Nigara and Friends Facebook page today. Links to your website with the pictures of the beautiful spaces that you've designed and the space that you work out of. And I appreciate your sharing your insights with us today, Kelly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's just say it out loud, can we? Hashtag smart lady. And let's add a hashtag funny lady too, right? I had a great conversation. This was so fun, Kelly. Thank you. And it's a coincidence that just last week I had a similar type of conversation with John McClain, right? He also talked about failure and a big, gnarly failure, but also explained how that big failure can be the catalyst that makes you dig in and turn things around. You know me, I don't really believe in the concept of seeing failure as a bad thing. And I was happy to know that Kelly, like John, feels the same. Like she said today, if you're not failing, you're not risking. What sets us apart is how we handle ourselves when things don't work out the way we wanted or we needed them to. For Kelly, since she knows failure is part of the equation, unavoidable, she says, let's take advantage of it. Let's get those learning lessons from it. You know, right? And what did they say? Every failure is a step to success. And if you remember, at the beginning of the show, I mentioned how much I love these conversations with seasoned business owners, right? And it's because they have gone through it and they can talk about the frustrations of owning a business with the benefit and the perspective of hindsight. Right? By now, you have to know that things don't happen overnight. You need to have determination and guts, like Kellie said, to achieve your goals. So I'm asking you, what are you doing today to reach a goal, any goal? It doesn't have to be a big, crazy thing. The goal doesn't have to be a big, crazy thing, or the thing that you're doing today doesn't have to be a big, crazy thing. All you need to do is a little something every day to move you closer to your goals. Okay? Thank you again, Kellie. It was tons of fun sitting down with you, and I appreciate your sharing your journey with us. And thank you for tuning in. You know how much I love that you show up and we get to do this together. Thank you. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of LuAnn Nigara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or LuAnn University, go to LuAnnNigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to WindowWorksNJ.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.